Hi, I'm Orly Grouper, the founder of Women in Mobility. Thank you for joining us for another episode in the series of Becoming a WIM. Today we have with us a very inspirational woman that not only raised a family, did multiple relocations all around the world, did all of that while climbing up the ladder in the industry corporate life, coming back to her hometown in Israel, not only as a CEO of one of the leading OEMs in the world, but also shifting from financial world to technology and R&D. So stay tuned, and we're starting soon. Hi, thank you for joining us. Today we have with us the CEO of Mercedes-Benz Center in Tel Aviv, the R&D Center, Adi Ofek. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to have today a journey with you in your life, and you've been in the automotive industry for over 20 years now.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about this journey and why you chose specifically this industry?
It sounds so sophisticated, but it actually wasn't this way. I think the industry chose me.
Cool.
I was looking for my first leadership position when I was 26, 7-ish.
Early on.
And then I was, introduced to some headhunters. Later on, I was promoted in my own company where I worked, and I decided I actually want to stay where I was.
Okay.
But the headhunters still had me on their pipeline, and this lady called me from Pilat and said, Mercedes-Benz, at the time it was Daimler Chrysler, is opening up a financial services company in Israel, and they need a head of credit. Do you want to join? And I said, no, thank you. I'm already promoted where I am. I'm very good. And she was like shouting on the phone, are you crazy? Do you understand what this opportunity is like? And then, okay, one interview after the other. And then I joined Mercedes in Israel.
So the industry shouted at you and brought you in.
No, not shouted, but the headhunter did. And then I joined as employee number one at the time. So that was year 2000, as the head of credit for the company, the financial services company that we set up in Israel. And then, so I was here for 7 years. And during that time, they needed me in Australia for 6 months. To help them clean up what they had. They had some issues with the financial portfolio there. And they offered me to go for 6 months. I had my son, at the time he was, 2 years old. So I talked to my ex-husband and we said, should we go, shouldn't we go? And then we decided, no, it's gonna be too much for the family. My son is young. My ex-husband would lose his job and this is a short-term assignment. We said no. And then my ex-husband wanted us to say, okay, there's opportunities abroad. Why don't we do that? And I'm
Something switched.
For him, not for me. I'm so connected to my family, so thinking of leaving them was never in my mind. But then after we had 2 kids, because he said, let's move. And I said, not before we have 2 kids. At the time, it was not very common to be a mother of young kids and move abroad. But then after we had Maya, then the opportunity came to move to Singapore as head of credit for Africa and Asia Pacific in the regional headquarters in Singapore for covering the region. And we did it. I was crying for 6 months before we did that. It was so difficult, but we did. And so
why were you crying?
Yeah, family. I'm very, 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 very
because
very
of your
much.
family, your roots here,
Yes,
and you were thinking about leaving them.
Right, which was, I think, one of the most difficult things I ever had to do in my life.
And every time you left for how long?
So, we came to Israel twice a year, and my mom came every quarter. So, but
you made it work.
But one time I said it to my son. I said, actually, Roy, when we're abroad, we see grandma and grandpa much more than when we lived in Israel. Because when you come in for dinner, you maybe another time during the week, but it's never long. And when they're with us for a month or, extended period of time. And he said, Mommy, I prefer seeing grandma and grandpa half an hour a week than not seeing them 6 months or a few months.
Wow.
So that was tough. But a huge opportunity and a great experience there. I was there for 6 years, and then moved to Korea as the CEO of Mercedes-Benz Financial Services in Korea. There I was for 3 years, and then Ola Kalenius, the chairman of Mercedes-Benz, was here in Israel, and I heard about it by chance when I was on a leadership course in Germany, and no one knew I was Israeli, and they said, Ola was in Tel Aviv, you know, the industry is changing, maybe we're going to open something up. That's
what
my
year
ticket.
Is this?
That was 2015.
Okay, yeah, that
15.
was when it was starting.
Exactly, exactly. So I said that could be my ticket home. Because for me, Mercedes-Benz is family. I did not consider leaving Mercedes, and there was no company here anymore from the financial services side. A few months later, they asked me to fly from Korea to Germany, and I got an interview with it. At the time, the board member for R&D and the board member for sales, which then it was Ola. And I said, look, I don't know what you want to do in Israel. I don't have any technical background. But I promise you that if it works, I'll be humble and I'll surround myself with experts and people that really understand technology.
Nice.
And if it fits, okay. If it doesn't fit, I fully respect it and do whatever you think you have to do.
What a woman way to be honest about it. You know, a man, I don't feel like they would say, you know, they would say, yeah, I'm just up for it. I'll know what to do, and you can count on me, and just
right. And then,
but being able to say that, you know, you're open to collaboration, you're open to bringing more professionals in, and you know, creating the squad you need in order to succeed. That's
right. But actually, you know, not all men are you know, that let's say. We had a board member in Singapore. He was a lawyer. So he was doing something completely different for Mercedes-Benz, and then he moved to manage the region. He knew nothing about financial services. He was one of my role models at the time, because he came in and he asked the most stupid questions. He didn't leave one topic that he didn't understand unsolved. And that was, for me, a role model. I said when I moved to Israel, and you know, from being one of the experts globally for financial services in Mercedes, you become the most stupid person in the room, right? Because you know,
because it's all about R&D and tech.
Yeah, and I felt so stupid, not understanding anything. So I said, I have two options. Either I smile, but I then stay stupid forever, or I ask stupid questions and maybe I have an opportunity there. So yes, I hired, you know, Danny Bren, a brigadier general in reserves. I used to head the cyber defense for the military. He helped me from the beginning to understand what needs to be done and also recruit. You know, I'm definitely not attracting the tech talents, right, with my financial services background. So he really, you know, he was and still is with me until today, you know, setting up the strategy for the hub, understanding where we need to go. So yeah, so that's in a long answer to your question about the journey.
I love that answer. And, you know, we talked about it a little bit. As a child as well, we moved around a lot for my dad's job. How was it being the woman that's moving the family from place to place? Did you get any comments about this from the surroundings? Was it something that was, you know, I'm guessing 20 years ago also, it's something that's different in the landscape?
Yeah. So maybe they didn't understand it, but they never made any comments. But I can tell you, you know, when I moved to Singapore, Asia, you know, in general, people work very hard and very, very long hours.
Right.
And my team in Singapore used to stay until 10 p.m. And I went to my boss at the time and I told him, listen, if I need to travel for work, I'll travel. If I need to do business dinners, I'll do business dinners. But if there are no business dinners and I don't have to fly, you're not going to see me here after 6 p.m. doing emails. I'm going to be home, having dinner with my kids and tucking them to bed. And he said, and I told him, judge me based on results. And he said, look, your team is staying really late. If you think you can manage the performance of the team and still do what you want to do with your family, go ahead. And I did. And it worked perfectly. And the team also left earlier.
They liked it.
And, yeah, of course, yeah. And it worked. So, you know, maybe it wasn't common for the environment, but I never felt judged in any way.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So you talk a lot about your family and how you're close to them. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood And if you felt that you got any tools growing up to be the powerful woman you are today, and like things that you got early on as a child.
I have tears in my eyes because I really think that's everything. My dad was a CEO of a construction company. My mom started as a teacher, then as the principal of a middle school, and then the head of the education department in Givatayim. So I grew up with very strong female role model. So, women in Germany used to ask me when, in the early years, how did you decide to become a leader and also be a mother? I said, I never decided it. But one thing was clear. Family is first for me always. So having kids for me was the most important thing. So, but you have a role model at home. You never asked those questions, right? So
it's not only about deciding, it's about how do you do it.
So
it's a big question.
Right.
It's one of my biggest questions now.
Yeah, you do it, but you do it, right? So I don't think you don't need a manual.
We're gonna need more tips from you today.
No. I think we all. I really believe that each one of us is different, and we have our own stars, our own strength. And when we understand those strengths and use it and sharpen our strength even further, that's how we shine. You will shine in a different way than I would shine, than someone else would shine. It's about connecting to where you are strong and living up to it. And you ask me what is the biggest, you asked about tools, right? So growing up, I can tell you, and we talk about it. I have 2 sisters, and we talk about it with my parents. It's like the belief they had in us, how proud they were with us. I always got the feeling everything is manageable, right? So there is no problem that cannot be solved.
Everything has a solution.
Everything has a solution, and it's there. You just have to find it, and you can do it. I remember my mom, one of the things that I remember growing up is how she would talk to her friends about me, and I would listen. So you're not in the conversation, but just listening from a side, and that a lot of empowerment actually growing up. Yeah, she always told me also, so you cannot be half pregnant, so don't do half a job. I'll never forget that.
That's a good one.
But of course, tons of tips. Yeah, so a lot of people want to meet my mom when they work with me in Mercedes because I quote her so many times. But I think that being able, it's a privilege to grow up with a lot of love and support. And an environment that enables you in a healthy way with good values.
Amazing.
It is.
And from what I understand, in Toyota Financial Services, you were the first female employee?
No. I was in Asia. I was the first one to promote to a seniority level, which was the highest in the region in Asia at the time.
So you were an only woman in boardroom meetings?
Many times. Many times.
And how was that?
Good. It was good. So I believe life is what you make out of it. I was in Germany a few weeks ago, and there was a speaker. He was blind, and he was climbing mountains blind. And he said, seeing is believing, but believing is seeing. Believing is seeing. And when you take it, to let's say being a female in a more, how can I say it, male environment, I never considered this to be an issue. So I remember women used to ask me, how do you get men to listen to you? I said, that's really, the problem is in the question. Why wouldn't they listen to me? So yes, we sometimes communicate in a different way, and yes, sometimes getting the message across may take a bit more effort, but you get there. And I think I get the feeling that it's even an advantage being a woman, because I fight to be respected. I fight in a good way, yeah. So I make the effort.
Yeah, you make a point of it.
No, not a point of it, but you try to be the best version of yourself when you're in a room. But then you bring as a woman or Adi. I bring my own, let's say, softness, and we talked. I have my soft side, but also not so soft side. It's good that it's balancing each other. But it's like it's also it's good. It's good for a room to have this diversity and have different perspectives, different way how we treat things. Make sure it's not so harsh and stiff. I think in many ways it's an advantage, which I celebrate.
Do you make a point of it today in your team to have diversity? How many women out of your employees?
So I think we have about 20% female, which is not enough, but we do.
That's about the industry percentage.
Yeah. So I think there are opportunities, of course, especially in tech, to bring in more female. But we do. So when we have the opportunity, we definitely do. And I support women around the world for Mercedes-Benz, and also here in my company and outside to empower them to be the best versions of themselves. And I even ask myself, why is it that you see so much diversity these days? Why is it a point? And if you look at the world of today, it's very, very dynamic, right? And very fast, the VUCA world. And people in the past used to be okay with getting instructions and just following it. But when you live in such a dynamic environment, I believe you can only get people to do what you need them to do if you inspire them, if you touch them in the heart. And this is a strength that let's say, something that we women find many times maybe easier to do. And also communication
to work
skills.
From passion.
From heart. Communication skills are needed when you work in a volatile environment, and that's also typically a strength that women have, juggling a few balls in the air. So there is a lot of, I think, how can I say it, skills that we women have that come in very handy in a very volatile environment.
Yeah, I think that's also why diversity is so important. Also, people from different places all over the world, and also different races and different sex.
Absolutely.
The more voices we have around the table, the more diversified, the more creative we can become.
Exactly.
If we're all the same type of thinking, then it'd be different.
Right.
And I think also millennials coming into the workspace.
Yeah.
Millennials are very impact oriented. They want to be passionate about what they do, and they less look at hierarchy as a thing. So they're more prone to talk to everyone and to be open more. So I think that also shifted a little bit the workspace.
Definitely, absolutely.
So you talk about really all the good side, but what is the weirdest moment of being a woman in mobility for you?
The weirdest?
Yeah, just the weird moment you had of...
I'll tell you what comes to my mind, okay?
Yeah,
it's
the
funny,
first thing is the best.
My mom, when I was younger, she said, when I just started, so before I even moved to Mercedes, in the first job, I still lived at home. And I would come home in the evening, and she said, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "Nothing. You look very tired." "I'm tired. I finished the day." "No one should ever catch you looking tired." That's my mom. I didn't have the energy to fight with her when I came home. So every time before I went home, I used to put lipsticks, and the people at work said, "Aren't you going home yet? So why are you putting lipstick?" I just don't want to mess with my mom. But the weirdest moment is being in a workshop with tons of men. You just finished lunch, and I need to put my lipstick. And I don't have time to go to the ladies to do that. So I do it in a room full of men. I just take my mirror and I put my lipstick.
To look refreshed.
Yes.
That's your trick to like refreshing yourself and carrying on with your day.
Making sure that you don't look tired.
But it's also kind of like a ceremony you have with yourself, maybe, of like, okay, I'm refreshing myself now. And
maybe. I never thought of it this way.
So we talked a little bit before about, not work-life balance, but family, work, children coming into the picture. Do you remember going back to your first pregnancy, your second pregnancy, and how that affected your career path, how you took that into account, and a little tips to whoever is, going on that journey now and thinking, very career focused, like how do you juggle it all?
So when I joined Mercedes-Benz, I was a newlywed, And then I told you, kids and family for me is really everything. And but and we worked like crazy in the first, I think, 12 months, until 10 p.m. every day. And my mom told me, so what about kids? I was 30. And I said, Mom, it's so busy. And she said, it's not going to get any less busy. And every child would bring you blessing. Just do it, and everything will fall into place. So that's what I did. And when Roy was born, she said, of course, a lot of tips, but what she said, you have to balance, long days and short days. So there were days where I worked really, until 7, 8 p.m. And there were days where I left at 4 and, came in, spent time with Roy. And then after he went to bed, I continued, which is not easy. It was not easy. You pay a price, so it's not easy juggling it all, but I did. So I was able to give him the time. And when we moved to Singapore, so there you have help, which is great. So with Maya, then at least, when I was home, I could really be with her. I didn't have to do the laundry. I didn't have to cook. I was 100% with her. So, and that was, let's say, maybe the second tip my mom told me is that if you want to manage a household and have a career, you have to make sure that you take care of yourself. And you cannot take on yourself more than you can handle, because if you're happy, your family is going to be happy. At work, the people around you are going to be happy. So I always had help. I paid, at the beginning of my career, half of my salary, at least, if not more, just to have full support at home and make sure that I have this balance.
I took a flight 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. And, in the beginning of the flight, it's always the same instruction video. But all of a sudden it hit me when they say, put first oxygen on you and only then on your children. Right. Because your instinct would be first to take care of your child. That's right. But if you're not breathing, no one can breathe around you.
Exactly. That's a beautiful
suddenly it hit me for life.
Right.
That if I can't breathe, then no one around me can breathe, because I can give myself to anyone.
Exactly.
And little by little, I understood also that me giving needs to come from me being full, and then it kind of overflows for me. So from abundance, I can give much more.
Beautiful.
I love how your mom comes again and again in like your life pearls, right? She's a very,
so many.
She's kind of like your mentor in life.
Definitely, absolutely.
Did you have any other mentors or teachers that gave you some tips or advice that kind of affected your path?
Absolutely, yeah. So definitely. First of all, I believe you have, from every person around you, there's something you can celebrate and something you can learn. But I did have a few figures that really, I learned a lot from, that I looked up to in leadership. And we talked about being clean in feedback, right? So one of my bosses was so, he gave feedback. It was like, this chair is just black, that's the color. And if we want to change the color, we need to do this and that. But you used the word clean when we spoke earlier. Yeah. So learning how to articulate things, being very clear. I learned to be very, very clear about who I am. Everyone knows always where they stand with me. And making sure, and I always believe that if you give feedback from a good place, if you really try to make things better and you're not trying to hurt, people can feel it. Yeah. But, I learned really a lot of how to lead, how to touch, in the old days, I'm not that young, unfortunately, anymore. So in the old days, it was a more formal environment. But even within that formal environment, one of my leaders used to say, but do you know what your employees are doing? How's their life like? Here in Israel, maybe it's more common, right? But abroad, it's, the life, personal life stays a bit more in the shadow. But to bring it to the front and make sure that we understand what goes on in their life. And at the end, connect to who they are. Maybe that was really, let's say, felt comfortable and normal for me, because, connecting to the heart is something that is very important for me as well. But,
Right. Seeing your employees as humans in the end, and taking an interest in their life is something that would help them more. So that's kind of how you lead today, you feel?
So, we also spoke about this. I have my, task-oriented part, which is like, okay, it's a machine. That machine had to feed itself. I need to show performance and it needs to be top notch. And, I used to be told, it doesn't need to be perfect. It's okay that it's excellent. So that's one side. And the other side is the human side. So in life, actually in my life, sometimes the task-oriented part used to take too big a role. And when it takes a role bigger than it should, it means I would be more micromanaging and maybe not so comfortable for the people around me. But when I'm able to look at it and then bring my people side more and do it more through inspiration, then the great things happen, right? So it's a play with me, those two parts. I think it's a good mix. Sometimes the people part is stronger. Sometimes the task-oriented part is stronger.
Do you have a trick to see when that part is taking too much?
I'll tell you what I do.
Like, do you have a mirror of yourself?
I make sure that my people around me are my mirror. So I share with them. I share with them that I feel like this is something I need to watch. And I ask them, so if you see it happening, if you see me doing something that I didn't notice myself, tell me. And I have a very open communication, and they do. I even managed it with the Asians. I told them, I prefer that you hurt me so that we're able to go in the right direction, that you give me a false positive and we run through the world. No. And they were like, okay. But they, with time, it's like if someone gives you feedback and you celebrate that feedback, then they will give it to you again, right? So it's like reinforcing habits which you want to, nurture. So so they do it. So people around me are my mirrors. And you inspired me to also be more of a mentor in the ecosystem. And you just brought me that certificate. And
thank you,
usually, and I need to thank you for that, because I just came back from Germany, and that was one of my learning in the leadership course that we've done, that I want to do more of that. And usually all my trophies, I keep them in the closet. I don't like showing them around. But after you gave me that certificate, I came to the office. I took all the coach or, leader awards that I got over the years, and I put them on the table next to the certificate you gave me. Just absolutely not to show, because that's not me.
It just expanded my heart. That was
to show me what I need to remember and what I put myself as a target for the next, let's say, 10 years. Because I say, before I die, will I be proud of being a CEO of this or CEO of that, doing that? I don't think so. I think I would be proud of how many people I helped on the way. So
what you left behind.
Yeah. In helping people reach their goals.
And I feel like you have so much to give, because you were one of our best mentors at the WIM mentoring program. And
with your inspiration.
I just called you like, I have this woman and I feel like you would be a great mentor for her. I feel like you have exactly what she needs. And I think it was a great match. You guys are still in contact.
We're still, definitely, absolutely.
That's amazing. And what happened in that leadership program that made you realize that this is something you want to expand?
You do like simulations, leadership simulations.
Yeah.
So it was a 4-day thing, and it moves, and now and every day you needed the leader for the day. I said, I'm going to be done with it. I'll be the leader for the first day, which is probably the most difficult one, because the group is not, the dynamics is still not there, and so and the team needed to do so we needed to do something as a team, and then and we were able to achieve great results out of the 3 groups. Of course, I was very proud and happy. And then last minute, he gave us another task and no time to prepare. So we were juggling, and then I said, okay, I can see I'm not going to be able to explain how we need to do this. I'll do it. So I went on stage and did it, and it was the wrong thing to do. So it was like a mirror for me, and it was really painful. But then that's the thing about life, right? When you're challenged, the great things happen, right?
Yeah.
So then, I wasn't the leader in the other days, but then suddenly it hit me what I need to do and how I need to bring in. We talked about, so the task-oriented was how we started, but then at the end, I did something that the coach thought was amazing. And he said, you see, this is your purpose in life, and you need to take that. And so that, yeah. And you met me with the certificate right after that. Leadership course, yeah. So.
Amazing. I love how you say that you came back and brought out all the prizes to have a mirror.
Yeah,
because it is a mirror. It's milestones of your journey, your path, and
Not
when
because
you want
of
to
that.
perfect. Also, when you want to look forward, to show yourself, forward. I used to write words on my mirror.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
if I was in this time where I was taking words instead of actions, so I wrote on my mirror, observe, just to remind myself, and have like words that I have in the cycle that I feel that need to, just a reminder and a mantra.
Yeah. So the trophies were not to remind me of my journey, but just to remind me where I'm heading.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The words on the mirror, like to remind you where you want to go. And
it's beautiful. Very nice.
It's like breadcrumbs, but into the future.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So I chose this background for us today from Singapore, and I think it's special being a woman in Asia. Do you have any specific tips or pearls on being an executive woman in an Asian market? And, women that are thinking about relocation, and sometimes maybe it can be scary to go east instead of west.
I would say the contrary. At least in Asia, I can tell you, it's so, we are Westerns. They don't. It's almost like I felt they didn't judge us based on the same, terms, because we're anyway different. They would judge
an Asian person.
You're anyway different, so you're also a woman, which is different. Yeah, but so I thought that was actually more even welcoming. And when I moved to Korea, then I was the CEO of financial services, and I had Britta Ziegler. She was the CEO of the car division at the time. So we were two CEOs.
Amazing.
At the heading Mercedes-Benz in a Korean market, which is more traditional in that sense. And it worked perfectly. So yes, it was noticed in the, let's say, Korean ecosystem, but celebrated, really celebrated. And at the end, as I said, you bring in your stars, you bring in your strength. And if you work from who you really are and not from what you think people expect you to be, then you can shine, then you can grow. And probably it doesn't matter whether it's in Asia or in other countries. It's just bring in yourself and know you'll find the solution and know you'll find your path if you really
stay true to yourself.
To yourself. And learn, you always need to learn. But if you do that, then I think it comes from within. We shape who we are, and we shape how the environment look at us. It's not the environment doesn't need to define who we are. We need to define who we are in the environment and help the environment shape itself.
Nice. I like that. And you have a daughter.
Right.
Would you advise her to join the mobility space? And if you will, then what type of advice would you give her going into it?
I would never give her advice what to do, because I think that's the area where I think we're supposed to, as parents, inspire them to be the best versions of themselves. And Maya, she's dancing, and she actually, when we moved to Israel, she said, I want to be a ballet dancer. But she didn't dance all those years because, I don't know, we were in foreign environments in Korea. It was really difficult, and she joined this, how can I say, after school activities school for dancing, and she wasn't one of the best. And she didn't make it to the excellence of that program in order to, go to, the dancing, how can I say it?
Seminar?
Not seminar, in high school, the megama, I don't know how to say it, so like the...
Yeah, it's like majoring in dance.
Majoring in dance, right. So we thought it wasn't there.
That.
You did that?
Yeah.
Really? Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I started my life dancing on stages, and it was a big switch for me to start to speak on stages, and all of a sudden using a voice and not,
Wow, amazing.
because when you dance, you don't use your voice, and then giving lectures, and then I understood that, okay, I love the stage. So, and then I understood, okay, everyone is captive now, so I can say things also.
Amazing. Yeah, so then she was really crying that she didn't make it, and then I spoke to my ex-husband, and I told him, she's crying, and she says, Adi, you know what you need to do. This girl, that's what she wants. You find the best teacher you can find.
Exactly.
And you give her the tools she needs, and let's see.
Yeah.
And today, she's excelling. She's, shining. I'm so proud of her. So she's very creative. She's very different. And both my kids, they look sometimes, and that's maybe not the good part. They look at me. Sometimes they feel tired. They say, "Oh my God, Mom, you're working so much, and then you take care of us. How do you do that? And it sounds so tiring." And I said, I choose what's right for me, and you will choose what is right for you, as long as you really identify what you want to do and take it to the best and really flourish.
Amazing. So today she's dancing?
Yeah. So she's dancing, and she even after school she goes to the teacher that inspired her from the beginning. She, a 15-year-old comes back home 3 days a week, 10 p.m. I have respect
I know
for
that. Coming home with your backpack.
Amazing. We need to talk about that.
Yeah. And I wasn't great at ballet either, so I had to take extra lessons, like private lessons, to up my game, because I was struggling more. I'm better in like expressing and the whole act on the stage, but like profining the Russian, ballet. You needed to be very, very, very precise.
Yes.
I was never an A+ student, so also in dance it was like not. So I had to work really hard.
So she takes it really serious, and even in we had the summer she danced every day in the summer. You have to. She didn't really stop at all. So now she's really, really good. And then I told her, Maya, you should relax a little bit. She says, you're telling me to relax? I learned it from you. I'm sorry.
We teach so much by just being, right?
Right. Some good stuff, some maybe, I wish she would be a bit more calm, but she's right.
You talked about your mother and you listening to how she speaks about you.
Yeah.
Even indirectly.
Yes.
And it's a lot of, and how she was behaving, and I believe a lot in education, it's not telling the children what to do, it's just showing them the way. And they pick up on everything.
Pick up on everything.
The way you want them to be is just to behave yourself, and just that's...
Yeah, and you can't be perfect, because, and I'm very open with my kids. So if they say, I'm not very calm as a person, so you give it to your kids, and I wish I wouldn't, right? I wish I wouldn't. So it comes with some good traits, but some not good traits. We can't be perfect, right? So that's something we need to. Unfortunately,
at the end of the day.
Right.
So, looking at the industry in the past 20 years, how have you seen it shift? Is there anything that you feel like is different today than it was before?
Everything is different, everything. So, if you take, let's say now, the R&D world that I'm in, it's amazing to see, in Mercedes-Benz, first of all, you see the calling in every person you meet, how to innovate, to make the star shine always. So you really see this purpose in the people to really do the best to contribute to that amazing, brand that we work for. But, there was a guy once, he came to Israel also, maybe even older than me, and he said, in the past when you needed to build a car, then you were let's say you were the S-Class car line owner or leader, you knew exactly how to dictate the experience that needs to go into the car. You just needed to write it down, tell every person that's what you need to do, hand it over. They would do each one their job separately, and then it all, comes together, and you have the most amazing car. But if you look at the S-Class today, and the EQS, and all the amazing cars that we're developing and building, there's so much innovation. And it doesn't work this way anymore. There is no one person that can dictate. there is no one person that has all the experience and the know-how to dictate the experience for the customer. You have so much technology in the car. So you have the design and the technology and the user experience and the assistant drive, so many things. And you need it to work together. And the environment keeps on changing, and there's a lot of competition in the market. So the competition on one hand, and our aspiration to always lead as a brand, really changed the way we work. You need to be more humble. So even the leadership style completely changed. In the past, like 20 years ago, if you met a board member, it's like you meet half a god. Today, they're all so human. You talk to them about everything, even the way people dress. No more suits, no more ties. You need more softness on one hand, but then the environment is so dynamic, right? So you need much more communication, much more collaboration, much more innovation. Failing, our
is
slogan.
Now accepted?
I would say this. It's absolutely accepted by the leaders. But culture is not something that is easy to change. Culture comes from home. And if you think about Germany and the excellence in their culture, that's not easy to change. So even if you tell them it's okay if you fail, just learn and move on, it's like you said, it's not just words. You need to bring it to life. That takes a journey. And we are on this journey, but it's not so easy. So if we Israelis, we're learned to failing, learning, and moving on. Some cultures don't find it that easy, right? But we're on this journey, and we do understand it, and we take care of it, and so it's something. It's a journey.
And looking forward on this journey, how do you see the next 10 years? Is there anything you anticipate that will shift a lot? What are you most passionate about? And like the mega trends that we're feeling now, is there anything that you feel that you're most passionate about?
So I think maybe something that has a lot of passion in it is, we need to take care of our environment, and we have a really huge sustainability program now.
Right.
That takes us through everything.
It's a big issue now.
And we really take it serious in Mercedes-Benz throughout.
I feel like you guys take everything seriously.
We do, we try, which is a good thing. By the way, I said to myself, for me, Mercedes-Benz is family because of our core values. Integrity is a core value, so I never, in my 20 years, felt that, if, there are people and not everyone behaves perfectly all the time, but the system holds you together. And that integrity now, if we look at the climate change and we look at it in a responsible way, and I'm proud to be in a company that I don't feel that it's done because, we feel that's what needs to be done, because I think we do it because we believe in it, and we think that it's something that we need to contribute as a leading company to the world. So that's inspiring. And I think, if, we talk about 2015 and we thought autonomous vehicles would come so fast and everything would come so fast. And I think now the world is understanding it's a journey as well.
You guys just declared now the level 3
autonomous, which is amazing, right? Amazing. It is really.
I'm most excited about it. I'm very keen on letting go of driving in traffic.
Right, but it takes time. The thing is, it takes time, and we need to understand that it's not going to come overnight, and that many things need to come together to that level of perfection that is needed for the customers and the drivers to be safe, or the passengers to be safe in their cars, right? Safe, and of course, safe is what we also do here in Israel from a cybersecurity perspective, which we're very, very proud of. So a lot of trends, and we understand now that we need to listen to the trends, learn all the time, change all the time, be okay with changing direction, but seeing very clearly where we're heading and aspiring for the best, right? So I see a lot of progress that is going to take place over the years. And probably 10 years from now, we would see a world which is much more close to the vision that we, let's say, had 5 years ago, right? But it takes time. So it will be more environmental friendly and more collaborative and more data driven, but responsible in many ways, right? Data privacy, cybersecurity. So there's a lot of responsibility that comes with all this technology in many, many aspects that we need to look at and make sure we nurture.
Adi, it was amazing to start the day with you.
It's amazing to start the day with you, Oli.
Hi, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I feel like we're going to talk a lot more.
Definitely.
And definitely follow up on your wanting to be more mentorish.
That would be great for me.
There's a lot of women out there that I'm sure would benefit a lot from interacting with you.
I would love that.
And we're soon starting also on the next batch of WIM mentoring programs. So that's going to be interesting.
Definitely. Thank you, Oli.
Thank you, darling.